All right. Okay, well, good afternoon. Welcome to Tech Club. We've had a little break for the summer and we're back in action as of today. So this is exciting to see everybody and have such a great response to this program. My name is Kathleen Morgan. I work as the Deputy Director at Lawrence Public Library and oversee the retroactive program for retirees. And we are here today to talk about AI, which we chose this topic because our tech department talks about how many questions they get from people about this particular topic. Which sites and platforms are the best to use? How do you prompt them? How do you make the most of them? What sort of safety you should be concerned with, that sort of thing. So we thought that would make a lot of sense. Before I introduce our special guest, I want to also take a minute to thank our sponsor, Capital Federal Foundation, who makes this program possible, as well as Sharon and David Katzman, who have set up a fund to support these classes and field trips and things like that. So thanks to them. And when the topic of AI came up, the first person I thought of was Paul Epp. I've known Paul for a long time, and he has worked out at the KU Innovation Center um, and co-founded a business called Foster Care Technology, which is a software company that he created and he grew and he sold. And now he helps other tech companies develop new products and how to use AI in their work. But he's also kind of a Renaissance guy. In addition to all of his tech work, Paul creates music. He's um, a composer. He does animation. He does audiobooks, and he really is an incredible musician who I suspect once in a while you may see around town playing the trumpet and keyboards and all sorts of other things. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Paul. Our format for today is he will go through his presentation. If you think of any questions, just please put them in the chat, which is down at the bottom of your screen with the little speech bubble. And we'll get to those probably at the end. There is some interactive conversation coming up. He's going to pull up an example of one of the sites and talk about ways to use it, but we might require your interaction at that point. But just put everything in the chat, and then I promise that we'll go ahead and get your questions addressed. So Paul, take it away.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be part of Tech Club. Happy to be doing things for the Lawrence Public Library. I am a Lawrence kid. I grew up in Lawrence and I'm in Kansas City now, but I'm very nearby and really enjoy getting to share information about AI. It's an amazing time for technology and just the chance to get to introduce new people to it. Hopefully, a few of you will learn some things today that you didn't already know. And like Kathleen said, we'll have time for questions at the end. So I'll run through some slides and we'll keep it interesting for everyone. So thanks for your attention in advance. And I'll just jump into a few slides to help illustrate some of the things I'm talking about here. Kathleen gave a great intro. This is an AI generated image of me, just to kick it off there. Um, I will go into that a little bit more later, but I took a photograph and this is what I look like in cartoon land. And yeah, so I'm a technology entrepreneur. I ran the company that Kathleen mentioned, and I do a couple of other more artistic things. Ep Technology Ventures is my company right now, and Good Game Music Factory is another company I started that does uh, media, particularly for kids, a lot of mostly music-based stuff. So I'm really interested in AI from a number of different perspectives, sort of just really fundamental stuff, how it helps in business, how it helps in creativity of all kinds, and we'll dive into some of that a little bit here. And like she said, if you have questions, please put them in the chat. She's generously helping me man the chat window so that we can respond to what people are wanting to know. Okay, so artificial intelligence. I have just a few buzzwords. I promised Kathleen I would keep it very minimal into how much jargon we're discussing, but these are three that you've probably heard somewhere, and you'll hear them again, and they're particularly relevant to AI. Machine learning is really the basis of AI. This is a technology term, and it basically just refers to the process of taking huge amounts of data and making sense of it. And that is the basis for what we call artificial intelligence. And it's just one that you'll see. Don't be worried about it. It's just basically taking large amounts of information, making sense of it. And that's what this next term is, big data. Big data is just the large amounts of information that we deal with now. Large AI basically um, takes all of the data that we've created throughout all time and figures out something to do with it. And that leads us to this last one. Large language models is almost certainly one that you've heard. Large language models, they call them LLMs. You'll see that in the news and everywhere that they're talking about these things. That's really the basis of what I'm going to talk about today. Large language models use machine learning. They take big data and they help make sense of it. So we'll be happy to take more questions about those terms, but I just wanted to highlight them because you'll hear them and they're really very straightforward. Um, Large language models are basically what sits behind what we call AI. What we call AI these days is really AI chatbots. If you've heard ChatGPT, Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, Google Gemini, Anthropic has a system called Claude. I'll go into those later, but these are AI chatbots, and that's the focus of the presentation today. An AI chatbot, you can think of it in a few different ways. You can think of it as a big computer that has learned the entire internet. It basically, well, I should say it read everything on the internet. And you can think of it as a window. I mean, you actually type into the thing. I'll show you in a second. It's a window into everything that has ever been written that the internet has captured. And when I'm talking about big data, like I showed before, that's lots and lots of data. It's lots and lots of letters, words, books, all sorts of stuff. You can just imagine. I don't have, it's some number of petabytes, but it's a huge amount of data. And the other way to think about an AI chatbot is just simply a conversationalist that never gives up and never gets tired. And that's a really good one to remember because that's fun, a subtle shift that's going to change, um, that really defines the difference between artificial intelligence and human intelligence that you might get from a person. So we'll come back to that in a minute. I usually talk about three different ways to use AI, but I added a fourth recently. Um, and I'm just going to go through these briefly, and then we'll go straight to some examples because I know you're wanting to see how does this actually work? The first is a research assistant. These tools will go to the internet and they will basically do a Google search for you. They will find information, they will find websites, and they'll bring it back to you and they'll write it up in a nice, tidy way that is easy to understand. These things have been programmed to do exactly that. And like I said, they will find information for you that you may never have been able to find yourself or may have taken a really long time. That's one reason people love it, one way to use AI. The next way is as a coach or a teacher. You can ask AI absolutely anything and it will give you a response. And you can use it to discuss ideas, or let's say you want to learn a new skill. All you have to do is ask AI, hey, will you be my coach on this new topic? Here's what I want to learn about it. You can also ask it to give you suggestions. what might I want to know about this topic? And like I said, it will give you that easy to read, easy to understand uh, text response that you can read, and it's been programmed to make it very easy to understand. Third way is a thought partner. This is probably, this and the research assistant are probably the ways that I use it most personally. Thought partner is, I understand this concept a little bit. Can you help me fill in the holes? Or I'm trying to make a big decision in my life. Here are the things I'm trying to consider. What else might I have left out? I want to know about this topic. I want to know what the debate is on both sides or all sides. Can you help me think through this? You can even say, what might this famous person say about this topic? And if it's a famous, most famous people have a lot of written content that's about things they've said or written directly themselves, and it will act like that famous person if you ask it to do so. And then the fourth is, just as an example, the fourth is a creative assistant. Um, this is related to the thought partner, but I thought it was worth its own category because AI is generating images, it's generating short movies now. Pro users who are doing this, for some large budget reason. Um, it will help you think of different ways to approach a creative project. Um, I've written songs, I've written blog posts of all different kinds, and I've used AI to generate images. I'll show you a few of those just as examples. But there are a variety of ways that it can be your creative assistant. And nothing explains like a few demonstrations. So I'm going to jump to some demonstrations. And what I thought I might do is I have a few um, ways, just specific examples of how you might use AI. And if you have any that jump out to you on this page, please put them in the chat and we can go straight to those. But I'm going to start with an example on my own here, and I'll need to switch screens. Um, the first one on the page was to plan a trip.
And this one's in ChatGPT, right?
Yes.
Okay.
And so what we're looking at here is ChatGPT. If you can see this up here, you simply go to chatgpt.com.
Mhm.
GPT is an AI term. It's just become popular. It means something that doesn't matter. But chatgpt.com, there are free versions of ChatGPT. There are free versions of all of these that I'm going to show you. The one I'm using just for this presentation is ChatGPT. It's the one I pay for personally. I have a subscription. Um, so that's what I'm going to use for these examples.
I will tell you, I have a free version of ChatGPT, and it does limit the amount of time you can use it in the course of the day. So it won't be completely endlessly chatty if you have a free version, but you can always start over the next day. So it just kind of depends on your what it is you need it for. But I've worked just fine with the free version too.
Yeah, and it's a good point. There are free versions, there are paid versions, and then there are like super expensive, very, very high paid version, like $200 a month. The one I pay for is $20 a month. That's what you're looking at right now. So just to dive right into it, planning a trip. Um, if we have any suggestions for where you might want to plan a trip, please put it in the chat. I'm just going to pick a place. Let's say I'm going to plan a trip to Lawrence, Kansas.
Oh, we have a Machu Picchu.
Machu Picchu. Okay, we'll do that one next.
Yeah, okay.
Um,
We're a little bit more adventurous.
yeah. So I and you can see it's already starting to give suggestions, but you can just ignore those. You just this is speaking to a computer in English. So that's all you have to do is act like you're talking to a person. Computers have essentially learned to speak English with AI. That's another way to think about it. So I'm just telling it straight up. I am planning a trip to Lawrence, Kansas. I would like you to create an itinerary for a 3-day visit. I am interested in restaurants, music, and other cultural events. Okay, so let me just stop to analyze this. What I'm doing here is called prompting. That is just typing into the chat window and telling it what you want. Just a couple of things I wanted to note as I do this. I'm telling it my intention. I'm telling it where I'm going. I'm planning a trip. I'm asking it for something specific. The more specific you can be, the better an answer you will get. I would like you to create an itinerary, and I've given it a restriction for how long? 3 days. You can also ask it just generally and see what it'll come up with something. But I want to be specific here because I'm looking for specific information. And then I'm telling it a little bit about what I am interested in. I like restaurants, music, and other cultural events. So I've given it some context. I've given it specific instructions, and then I just hit enter or I click that button. And you can see it's even telling you, it briefly, it goes to search the internet, it searches the web for this information, and you can see where sort of mixed in here. But and it's very polite. AI is very polite all the time. It says, here is a tailored 3-day itinerary for exactly what I asked for. And we don't have to read through the whole thing, but AI will take lots of different variables and it will put them all together. That's what you don't get from Google search. Google search, you say, give me an itinerary. It will go to websites that have itineraries. It's not very personalized. It's just going to show you information. This calculates about how long things take. It looks at reviews for restaurants. It looks at all sorts of different sources, anything that's on any website, any app that you've ever used. Um, and you can go through it and you say, okay, what do they have here? Mass Street, Granada Theater, Silas and Maddie's, Watkins Museum of History. Okay, 715 restaurant. You guys probably know some of these places. Um, and it's really following my instructions quite well. Day 3, and then it gives me an overview here at the end. Here's how you do it. It's lots of information, tips and travel, and then just like a summary at the end. Okay, it's like a very well-written essay. And in fact, that's how they train a lot of these things. They hire people to actually write examples and then they teach the AI to write like the people. And I'll do another example here just to say, how how would you change this itinerary to expand the trip to 5 days? Simple instruction, but it goes back and it says, okay, read the one from before for days 1 through 3, and then it's given me days 4 and 5. Totally new places. Oh yeah, this is interesting. Forgot about some of these. Gives me the new missing information, gives me a new summary, and it just writes it out for you. Now, the point I would like to make here is that this itinerary, you all as Lawrencians, probably most of you, if not all of you, will see this and you'll say, yeah, but it's missing this place. I can't believe it didn't include this place. Or that's ridiculous. You couldn't possibly, why would you go from there to there? It's too far. You should hit this place on the way. The point is, it's given you a rough draft, and I'll bet that you can get from nothing to a planned out itinerary that you would love faster by seeing an itinerary that was maybe 80% there, or it's pretty good, but not perfect. And then you going in and editing and adding your own stuff to it. And I'm making a big deal of this because this is another thing. If you walk away from this presentation with just a couple of things, this is one of them, is that AI is ideal for rough drafts. It excels at giving you something that's not perfect, but it's really close, or it's really gets you well on the way. It gets the ideas flowing, it gets you a framework, whatever it may be. And then from there, you still need to use your own brain faculties to say, no, this is what it should really be. And so I'll come back to that example. If you will, I'm going to skip Machu Picchu just for now so we can do another type of example. Do we have any other specific ones, Kathleen, that you think would be good based on what's in the chat?
We have Nancy suggesting Santa Fe since you and your family go there. Got a
We have
got a
a,
fan.
yeah, I do like Santa Fe. Um, how about non-travel? Do we have any other from
Is
that list? Let me show it
is
again.
like for example, if you want to find the cheapest flight between 2 points, I mean, does it work on that? Like I want to go to Boston on this day. Kind of, where would I find the least expensive nonstop flight? I don't know.
Let's
Is
try
it?
it. So I'm going to start a new chat window because also when you do something like this, it will remember um, everything that you've typed until you go to a new chat or a new window. So actually, let's say, and the other point I want to make here is that I have not tried everything that there is to try in AI, and so you are getting a live experiment anytime you're seeing a demonstration of AI, not only because you can't try every single thing, but because these are constantly updated, and so something it did not do last week, it now does this week, and I don't keep up on every new release that it comes out with, but know that these things are constantly evolving and I'll read about something in the news that it can't do, and then I go and I try it, and it already has corrected that error. So it's a constantly evolving thing in that way. So let's say I live in Boston and I am looking for flights that will enable me to fulfill this 5-day itinerary. Please suggest specific flights from airlines um, during this month that would fit well for me and tell me what to do. And this new version of ChatGPT, um, it's better at figuring out what you want. You used to have to make a few more selections about what large language model you wanted to use, but all that to say it's thinking a little bit longer because it's using a different model behind the scenes. Nothing you really need to think about, but it uses different tools to do different sorts of actions. Okay, so um,
Just gives you
it
all the options. It's amazing.
gives you a bunch of options, and I didn't talk about this before, but you'll see these little links in here,
Hmm.
and you click on one of these, and it will take you to, let's see, it will take you to the website that
Okay.
shows this actual flight,
The prices and everything.
and then you do your thing. You book it like you would, but it saved you the trouble of, typing the stuff in and having to figure out. Now it chose dates for you because I didn't give it specific dates,
Hmm.
but I can also give it specific dates. And like I said, the more specific you can be, the better.
Yeah, there's a whole list now of all sorts of things. Can you predict how many
Okay,
games KU will win, football or basketball?
that's a good short one. How many games will the how many games will the
Oops.
men's KU basketball team win this year? And this is one I have not tried.
Oh,
So
I'm kind of curious.
experimenting, and this is the fun part, by the way. This is where
Yeah.
it's interesting. I mean, you just never know, and there's a addicting piece of this. What's currently known? The record for last season. So what can we expect this year? Non-conference schedule likely includes tough opponents for Kansas, top programs, so it's telling you some obvious stuff, but it's, it's giving you some context. Bill Self's track record suggests Kansas is almost always in the 25 to 30 win range, so we can, it's using past data.
Mhm.
And the answer is 25 to 28 total wins.
That's great.
Now, it does warn you about preseason hype and expectations, which you may not have included when you were feverishly asking for this information. And, it reminds you that past performance trends don't always predict. And the quality of the roster matters.
Yeah.
So, fun example, but it will always give you an answer no matter what you ask.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'm going to pause this for a second. We'll come back to a couple of examples,
Okay.
but I would like to talk about a couple more things and show you a couple more things with the slides that I have here. So tips and tricks. I demonstrated a couple of these. The prompting techniques, I went through that. I said be specific. When I was doing the itinerary, I gave it a place, I gave it a timeline. I told it what my interests were. Those are all examples of prompting. That's what you're telling the AI to do. And the more specific you can be, the more specific an answer you will get. And we could do a whole session on prompting, and they have studied this, how to better prompt these AI models because it really does make a difference in the type of answer that you get. And when you're using it for business or you're using it for research, I'll do research on industries or companies or topics, and it will give you information according to your prompting ability. And this is something that you can learn, and it's really just using English to get better results out of the AI. And the second one here, so ask AI how to use itself. I forget about this one, but it's very easy to forget. If you want to know, let's say, better prompting techniques, ask AI, ask it itself, because this is a topic that has been written about on the internet extensively, which means that the AI knows it and it will give you an answer. And so anytime you're stuck on any topic or what to do with AI, remember that AI knows how to use AI and you can use it as a resource for itself. Um, and the third one is the most general. It's just keep asking. Um, that point that I made at the beginning about how AI never gets tired, it will never give up. Um, if you keep asking it to clarify, say, no, this wasn't quite right. ChatGPT even has a writing tool where you can go in and you can edit the actual text itself. You don't need to use that. But if you just keep asking it to clarify, it will clarify 5,000 times in a row if you ask it that many times. And you'll get closer to what you're looking for each time, just by asking, wording it in a different way or saying, yes, this part was right, this part was not. Tell me more about this aspect. And it's frankly it's enjoyable to be able to get to the heart of something. And there are all sorts of examples about how you can do this, but that's another tidbit to walk away with here today. Just keep asking. When in doubt. Okay. This is what I look like. Or actually, this is what I looked like a couple of years ago. And I've asked AI to use the image generation model, which you can use in ChatGPT, and I'll show you just exactly what I typed in. Um,
Yeah, that actually is one of the questions is how do you turn like a photo, for example, to a cartoon or something else. So
Perfect. Okay,
reading our
so
minds.
I have this photograph of myself. I think you have to have the paid version. I'm not sure of
Mhm.
ChatGPT to upload documents. So this was a photo that I uploaded into ChatGPT, and then I said, this is a little bit out of order, but I said great in response to another image it generated. But I said, now surprise me with another version of the same photograph in a new style of your choice, again making the background transparent while preserving the person who's the focus of the photograph. This is what
So
I,
in order to do that, you just put that in the chat box of make this photo into
yeah.
a cartoon. Okay.
So I uploaded that photo that I showed you before,
Okay.
and then I typed these exact words into
Oh,
ChatGPT,
okay.
and this is what came out.
Gotcha.
So I was talking about being specific. If you're not specific, it will give you an answer anyway. We'll come back to that point also. Um, so just having fun, right? And then this is a little bit, you can judge for yourself if this is good or not, but this was actually the first one I did. I said, please create a comic book version of the photograph. And that is, I don't know, it's kind of more wrinkly than I feel
You
like I
look
am.
tired.
Yeah. But, these other ones, they get a little bit, they're even, well, you'll see.
Ooh, moody.
Yeah. So now create, and then again, text that you see, this is what I typed in and this is what I got out after giving it that photograph. Now do a photorealistic version of the person in the photograph in a completely different setting, evocative backdrop. And it actually asked me, sometimes it will ask you to clarify. I said, make it evocative, artistic with dramatic lighting and a surreal, dreamlike environment. I don't think this guy looks like me, but it did follow the instructions, and it's a very weird thing to see what it does. Um, Basically, AI has studied billions of images on the internet and correlated those with how people describe them, and so it's doing it the best that it can from having learned all that. And then this
Yeah.
one, try another one in which the subject is dressed like a circus clown. So that one is maybe a little more accurate, but I'd still have some. That's more like a painterly style. But I was, like I said, I was having fun with it, just seeing what it would come up with. Um, and this is just what it came up with. Okay, couple more slides and then we'll go to some questions here. Just how to get started. Which ones should I use? I've been talking about ChatGPT because that's the one I've been showing you. Um, in parentheses, you have the companies that develop these models in case you're a fan of a particular company. Um, Most of these are thatword.com. But you can figure out how to get there just by typing any of these into Google. Copilot is Microsoft. Gemini is what Google's one is called. That's wasn't what it was called last year, but it is now. Claude, ChatGPT, Grok, Llama. These are sort of the most famous ones I hear about. I personally use Gemini and ChatGPT the most. Personal preference, they're very much the same. They do have differences, but for most of us, it's not going to make much of a difference which one we use. A couple things I wanted to touch on related to safety and just general use. You'll hear about AI hallucinations. Um, when I ask it a question, it will give me an answer no matter what. So if I'm asking it an unknowable question, um, how many stars are in the sky or something that we're only guessing at. It will give me an answer. And you will sometimes get, you'll ask it an important question about, use it in business. And you really need to be careful about when you're using the information in the real world because it will simply make things up from time to time. And if it doesn't know the information, it will fill it in with something. And that's where you really have to hang on to your personal expertise and remember that these are just machines. They will give you an answer no matter what. And it takes a person to really verify whether it's true or not. Whether it's true or not is kind of a deeper issue anyway. But the idea is that don't take what AI gives you and act on it as if it is the fundamental truth. It is great for a rough draft. It is great for discussing ideas. It's great when you don't need something to be 100% accurate. You just need a start and you need a discussion and get ideas flowing. Number two, you are not talking to a person. It will feel like you are because it answers like a person. It's been trained to respond as people would respond. But this is where you'll see things in the news about AI. People are going to AI as a therapist, as a relationship consultant. People give up on AI never does, and it never gets tired. People do. Um, and so it's easy to have this psychological um, sort of frame where you feel like you're talking to a person. And it's why, especially younger people, it's easy to imagine that there's someone on the other end who cares about you or, is only looking out for your best interest. It's a philosophical question about whether these things are really intelligent or not, but it is not a person. And don't, especially for younger people, if you have younger people in your life, remind them that this is not a person and that you shouldn't be getting advice from it in any meaningful way. It's about exploring ideas, but if you use these things long enough, you'll experience this feeling that you are talking to a person, and it's just very important to remember not to. AI is a tool. That's number three, which means that it can be used for good, it can be used for evil. It will be used for both. Um, my philosophy is always to start using it so you can get ahead of it, so you can understand it. The more you understand about it, the better you're gonna uh, be able to not be controlled by it and use it for things for which it is designed to be used in a positive way. Um, but don't expect AI to be used for good things all the time. It's like any tool, it's like an airplane, it's like a hammer. It can be used for good things and bad things. Um, and these are just things to remember as you're trying to navigate the safety and the complexity and philosophy of using AI. And the last one is don't tell it anything you wouldn't post on social media. When you are typing something into these are websites, or they have mobile apps, most of them. Or if you are typing something into a website or mobile app, some company on the other end is going to see it.
Mhm.
They may not look at it, they may not care, but they will have it in their database and they can go there if they really want to and see what you typed into it. So you don't want to give it anything, certainly no protected health information, certainly no personal identifying information of any kind. Um, the rule I use is don't put anything into AI that you wouldn't feel comfortable posting in public with your name behind it. These are still companies. It's still a website you're typing into. Easy to forget that. So these are just a few really important rules of thumb I like to share with anybody that I'm talking to about AI. Okay, and I think it's one more slide here. No, two more slides. When you're using the most important thing, if you only remember one thing from this presentation, is you can only learn by doing, and the best way to learn about AI is to just start using it. So pick one of those sites that I gave you, um, and just get started. And like I said, you can ask AI how to use AI. Why would I use you? What could you help me with? And you can give it as much information as you want about, not personally identifying information, but you can tell it its interests and your interests and activities, anything, any of those things that you saw on that list, and it will generate these ideas for you. And just to close out the presentation part, and we'll go to questions after this. These are some deeper thoughts that are sort of where we are in society. As a library, you're sitting at the nexus of some of these technologies, and the old and the new. And so I like to talk about a couple of these. AI will tell us about humanity. It's a window into everything that has ever been written. Um, Anything that people can put on the internet, they will. Um, and AI has it hasn't actually read every single piece of information, but that is the best way to think of it. It's very close. Um, if it's been written about on the internet, AI will have an answer for you. And some are better than others, but that's kind of how to think about AI, is that it's like a machine that's read the entire internet. Number two is AI will find patterns that humans never could. This is where it starts to get really exciting. Health discoveries, physics, new inventions, assembling ideas. That's what AI does. It looks for patterns. People look for patterns. That's how we learn. That's how we discover things. AI can do that. They can do the nuclear version of that. That has incredible potential for discoveries, scientific discoveries. The human body is a complicated thing. Doctors are using AI or not. Um, this is also an ethical question. AI will give you an answer. Whether or not it's correct, you don't know. But lots of people are using AI for health concerns, and they're giving it information. They're saying, "Here's what I have. Tell me what's going on here." Some cases have been successful. Some cases have not. It will lead you down um, a good path or a bad path. I can't give you advice about how to use this. I can just tell you that people are using this. And if you understand that you're not talking to a person, you're talking to a probabilistic machine, and you're aware enough to understand the difference between a suggestion and something to take to heart, um, that's where you have to sort of be in the mindset as you're using these things. And then the last one is creativity. I do believe this is mostly about combining ideas that were already there. And AI is going to have, you're going to hear music that you couldn't believe was possible, that will move you like you couldn't believe. You'll see art that is created by AI, or what we call AI centaurs, a person plus an AI, stuff that couldn't have been done by humanity alone. And so it's just really fascinating stuff that's coming down the pike. And I wanted to end the presentation with some of those deeper thoughts for those of you who are a little bit further interested in these implications for society, that kind of thing. So, if you want to learn more about me, paulepptech.com. That's an easy way to get in touch with me. And I've got some AI stuff. I'm working on some AI projects with some friends and colleagues, and giving presentations. I'm giving a presentation in October about AI and human artistry. You can get a sense from that. I'm interested in the creativity aspect. And I love to engage about these things. I'm happy to answer questions as much as I can as they come through. But feel free to get in touch. And so yeah, any
All
questions?
right. Thank you. Yeah, we have quite a few actually. So I'm kind of
Great.
scrolling back, and on your list, it said that it's possible to analyze an image. So if you were to say upload an image, can it tell you whether it was an AI creation?
Um, it will tell you whether it's an AI creation or not. It doesn't actually know. This is kind of a cat and mouse thing. Um, You'll hear instances of, I mean, of course, students are using AI to write papers for them, and uh, their teachers are trying to discern when the student is written with AI or not. And they are using AI to fight AI. So there are services you can use to analyze whether something has been written with AI or not. Same thing with photographs. Um, this is just a cat and mouse game. As the AIs get better, it's easier for them to disguise these things. And the answer is you just never know for sure. You can't
Yeah.
really rely on a probabilistic AI to decide whether or not something has definitively been created by AI because the differences are just too subtle and you don't, it doesn't have that ability and they change constantly anyway.
Yeah. I've noticed we use it, I use it a little bit for polishing writing and things like that. And after a while, after you've used it for a little bit, you can kind of pick up on a certain format that it uses, like it uses a lot of dashes.
Mhm.
So then we started using the prompt, write this like it doesn't sound like it was written in Chat GPT.
Yeah.
And it takes all the dashes out. And that was, for me, that was like a telltale sign that something was written in with AI. So there's little things that you can pick up on, but you're right, it's difficult sometimes. Oh, we're gonna get a poem about Lawrence Public Library.
So just as a quick example, I talked about the creativity aspect. Um, I don't know how many of you have written poetry or anything that rhymes. It takes me forever. And I've just given it this simple, this is just sort of a crowd pleaser.
Oh, very nice.
In Lawrence's heart, a beacon stands, a home of stories in eager hands, glass and light, both warm and free, a gathering place for community. I mean,
It does get better. I hope they're talking about Lawrence Public Library in Kansas and not the one in Massachusetts. So
oh, ooh, how would we know? Yeah,
I know.
it doesn't give any
It,
clues
it can
there.
go either way. That's great.
But it's an idea machine. You know, rhyming especially is that one of those, it's very mechanical. A lot of speech is very mechanical and it just pumps the stuff out, no problem. So
Um,
what else do we have?
can you
Question.
go over again how much the paid version of Chat GPT costs?
The Chat GPT paid version, the level I pay for is $20 a month.
Okay.
Some of them are $30 a month. They're all pretty much in that range. And then there's a $200 a month version. And that's when you get into, um, I don't even know, actually. I mean, some of these AI tools are starting to use your computer for you, not
Mhm.
actually move your mouse, but it will move your cursor and supposedly they can book a flight for you.
That's
Um,
the expensive versions, I presume.
yeah,
Okay. Wow.
yeah, and those are mostly testing. Like book a flight is an example of something it could do, but that's kind of where they're heading. That's what these businesses want to be able to do. So you can just send it out. They
Wow.
call it an AI agent.
So another question is how much tracking goes on? So for an example, in Google, if I search for a product, it shows up on Facebook, etc.
Yeah. I mean, this is it's a computer use question. Just
Mhm.
as you can assume that these things are tracking you. If the AI company specifically is not tracking you, your web browser probably is.
Mhm.
Um, Anything you're typing into the internet, I mean, this is the frame I use. Anything you're typing into the internet, you're gonna get it's gonna go somewhere that someone can discover it.
Yeah.
There are varying degrees of security. Most of it's okay, but you just have to be prepared for tracking on just about anything you use.
Okay. If it writes something for you or creates an image for you, does it belong to you? Or do you own the image, for example?
This
Are
is
you going to own that clown image of yourself?
I'm gonna try, although probably no one will ever. Well, I guess it's in the corpus now, but um, this is there are a bunch of podcasts out there discussing podcast articles. This is a very discussed issue. There are lawsuits happening all the time. Um, the answer right now is that the legal system is not keeping up with AI. And so they negotiate each of these things as they come up. Generally speaking, if you output an image, um, you can claim ownership to that image. You can use it freely in your stuff, depending on what's in it. And I know that's a terrible answer, but if you have Mickey Mouse in your image and it's very clearly looking like Mickey Mouse, you're exposing yourself to legal trouble with
Mm.
Disney, for example.
Yeah.
These big companies, they AI is technically not, it's looking at the relationships between points on the screen that create Mickey Mouse. It's not actually creating Mickey Mouse, but this is just going to be constantly battled in courts. And I wouldn't recommend creating AI stuff and depending on being able to sell that and you know, whether they go after you or not is depends a lot on your profile and your how famous you are and that kind of
Mhm.
thing. But it's an unanswered question right now.
Okay. Yeah, it's kind of a new frontier.
Yeah.
Um, I've heard that the early versions of GPTs mirrored the internet and were not very nice and had to be programmed to be nicer. Is there a subtle negative bias that's still there?
Um, well, these things are constantly um, being updated. Um, a few weeks ago, ChatGPT had a release that they actually rolled back. The company is OpenAI, um, where users were complaining that it was too sycophantic, which is to say that it was, oh, you're so smart, that's a great question, let's give you an answer that it was trying to satisfy you too much more than it was trying to give you accurate information. These are subtleties. They change with every release. So what's true for um, that what was true a month ago is not necessarily true now, which is another reason you just have to sort of experiment with these things. And whether it's negative or not, you can always ask for a more positive spin on something. You can continuously ask questions to better refine the answer that you're getting. Um, but it just depends, and you kind of have to keep going and see what it does. Every time I read an article almost about, say, hey, ChatGPT does this, there was one at the beginning that said it couldn't spell. You would ask it how many R's were in the word strawberry, and it wouldn't consider the first one or something, and it couldn't answer the question. That I've never had that issue. I've tried that a few times. It was immediately corrected after it was written about, which is the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
Um, you just don't know.
Well, and I found that like if it writes something and it's like really stodgy sounding, I'll say, hey, be nicer or write it more casually. And it does easily kind of change the tone of things. And then really bizarrely over time, it learns your voice of like kind of how you write or what you like. And then it starts to spit out stuff like automatically that matches the tone that you've used in the past. It's scary and magical all at the same time.
Yes.
Um, let's see, can it really find the best products? And or are some things posted that are like essentially paid endorsements, or some things just total BS? I don't know if I read that correctly, but
Um, it has no BS filter, that's for sure.
yeah.
The people, honestly, people really like AI. One of the reasons, the main reason I think is because it never gives up and it gives you pretty good answers for stuff. The other is that there are no ads right now.
Mhm.
At least if you're using a paid subscription, you don't see any ads on the page, and that's an undervalued thing. Now, that's probably going to change. I will bet lots of money that that will change. You will start to see ads. Any internet service that learns about you and you're putting stuff into it, it's going to learn stuff and it's going to index that with products that you could potentially buy. We will
Mm.
see that. So what it's doing right now, this blank screen, most of them are like this. You're going to see ads in the future, I believe. For now, you're not. If you ask it for suggestions, you can ask, I mean, you could say, what is the best type of vacuum? How do you spell vacuum?
Mhm. Yeah, I know there's two
Cleaner.
U's. I think you take one, well, it'll,
It
it
doesn't
knows what you're
matter. So
saying.
yeah,
Yeah.
and
It
that
has
and
spell
because
check.
it has seen spelling errors over and over again. So this is a great example. What's the best type of vacuum cleaner I can buy? And it will give you an answer. And it's um
It gives you, depending on what you want with it.
okay,
You
so
know,
it's giving you sort of some context and then it's giving you specific examples and
yeah, one thing I found helpful for kind of checking accuracy is to always ask for the sources. It's like sometimes it includes them and sometimes it doesn't. And that gives you an ability to kind of, you know, dig a little deeper and say, hey, where is this coming from? These recommendations or whatever.
with wow, this is really involved. So you will def you can
Pretty simple question, but look what it gave you. My
yeah.
goodness.
And to that point, there's a link in ChatGPT. Most of them are like this. You can go to that. It says sources here at the bottom, and then it just lists all of the websites.
It's great.
One of them was, Gear Lab, and so it took information from this article when it
Okay.
created this answer for you.
So we have about a minute left, and I'll ask you this last question. So, what's next? Like, what are you hearing is happening in the future? Where are things going in the future with AI?
Um, well, that's a nice, easy question.
Yeah, I
Um,
know.
um,
Ads. You kind of
yeah,
answered a little bit.
we'll see ads. You're gonna see it get smarter and smarter. All these criticisms that come up that you'll see about it, they'll get corrected.
Mhm.
Um, deeper thinking on a topic, becoming more reliable. Like you have to think about it from the perspective of these companies. The better service they can offer, the more money they can earn. And if it's more reliable, if it's giving better information, if people are using it more, you're just going to see it become more human-like is the short answer. It's going to be more engaging. You'll start to see smaller models as well, which is a sort of a cost thing. And it's going to become more personalized. That's how technology goes in general. You'll have a site for fashion specifically. You'll have a site for choosing cars specifically, and we'll see more personalization, I believe.
Awesome. Well, you're getting lots of kudos, very informative. I'm no longer afraid of AI. Thank you. So
That's how
that
I
you
like to
got
hear
your
it.
goal. That's great. So everybody go forward, go out and check out your favorite AI chatbot platform and just give it a spin and see what you come up with, and have fun with it. So, and be safe.
Yes, have
But thank
fun
you.
and be safe.
Thank you, Paul. It was really, really, really a good presentation.
Thanks for having me. Hope
All
it
right.
helps.
Take care, everybody.